Today, we are diving into a really powerful new memoir by Geraldine Brooks called Memorial Days. And I'll tell you, it is a raw, unflinching look at that single moment a life is just shattered by sudden loss, and the long, long journey that comes after. So let's set the scene. It's May 27th, 2019. Everything feels completely normal. But, as you can probably guess, an ordinary afternoon is about to be split in two by one single, unexpected phone call. Okay, so Brooks is in her study, trying to settle in and write, and her phone rings. The caller ID is kind of garbled. It just says GWHSP. And she's on Martha's Vineyard, 500 miles from D.C., so she almost lets it go to voicemail, figuring, it's probably just another fundraiser. But she picks up, and the first words she hears are this question that just hangs in the air, heavy. You can just feel the unspoken dread behind it. It's a hospital resident on the line. What she hears next isn't a story. It's not a clear explanation. It's just this barrage of broken phrases, words that just don't fit together. Collapsed, tried to resuscitate, couldn't revive him, and each little piece is pushing her toward this conclusion that just feels impossible, illogical. And then, there it is. The two words that end one life and just completely change another. Flat, exhausted, final. He's dead. This is it. This is the epicenter of the trauma. The moment everything else in the memoir just radiates out from. Okay, so now we're going to jump forward in time, nearly 4 years later, to February 2023. The immediate shock? Well, that's faded. But the grief? That's still there. It's this constant presence. And Brooks realizes she has a task in front of her. She calls it the unfinished work of grieving. So the way the memoir is structured is really interesting. It breeds these two timelines together. You have the immediate, chaotic, brutal aftermath of her husband Tony's death, and then you have this intentional, solitary journey she takes years later to finally, truly confront her loss. So where do you go to do this kind of work? Well, for her, it's a remote shack on Flinders Island, way off the coast of Australia. And you get the sense she's not running away from anything. She's running towards the pain, looking for a place where she can finally let it all come to the surface. And the reason for this whole journey, it's profound. Brooks admits that for years, she's basically been playing a part. The part of woman being normal, She's been the PTO mom, she's been the author on a book tour, all while carrying this immense unspoken weight. This trip is about finally dropping that mask. She actually uses this really powerful concept from Hebrew scripture to describe how she's been feeling. Mitzar. It means the narrow place. And it's this idea of being trapped, constricted, in a state of anguish. It is the absolute perfect word for a grief that's been held in, tamped down, and never given the space to breathe. And to really understand why she felt so trapped, so constricted, we've got to go back to those first few hours after the phone call, because the abstract pain of loss immediately crashed headfirst into a cold, impersonal, and frankly, brutal reality. The cruelties were just relentless. The doctor who gave her the news was impatient. Her shift was ending. Her husband, Tony, was no longer a person. He was a body, an it. She was stuck on an island, every flight booked for the holiday weekend. Another doctor she managed to get on the phone just snaps at her. It was, as she calls it, a brutal, broken system. You think about how this is supposed to happen in books, in movies. There's always someone there, a gentle hand on the shoulder, a kind voice. But for her, there was no one. Just a voice on the phone, and then a dial tone. An absolute void. And in that moment, in that total, crushing isolation, she makes a choice. She feels this howl building up inside her chest, a primal scream of grief. But she swallows it. She pushes it down. Because she knew if she let it out, if she let herself fall apart, she might not be able to handle the logistical nightmare that was waiting for her. And that brings us back to her journey years later. So why that specific island? Why Flinders Island? Well, it wasn't just some random remote spot on a map. No, this place held deep personal meaning. It kind of represented a life that was never lived. See, Brooks is Australian. It's her home. The Pacific Ocean is her imprinted horizon. But her husband, Tony, he was an American through and through. He never really felt at home there. He thought it was smug and sunstruck. Their decision to live in America was this kind of ongoing compromise in their marriage, an argument she says she ultimately lost. So Flinders Island, it represents that road not taken. So really, the entire memoir is about this journey. It's about this very intentional act of moving from the Mitzar, that narrow, constricted place of suppressed pain, and moving towards what she calls wideness. That open, wild, and necessary space where true mourning can actually happen. Remember that house she swallowed on day one? Well, it never went away. It just went underground. She describes it as the beast in the basement of my heart. And her trip to Flinders Island, that's her quest to finally find that beast and set it free. And this brings us right to the central question of the whole book. And it's a question that I think anyone who has ever lost someone understands in their bones. When the pain just feels like it is going to go on forever, how do you possibly give it an end? And the memoir answers that question with its epigraph, a quote from Tim Winton. And it's such a profound and really empowering idea that some things don't end on their own. We have to be the ones to give them an ending. We have the agency to write our own final chapter, to give our own story the end it deserves.